Good afternoon again, everybody. In the interest of time and in fairness to the people who are on time, I suppose we could get started. We already have 65 people on board, and I understand that over 100 has registered for this. So if we do go over, we're always broadcasting this live as well on PIRA's Facebook page. So if you want details of the Facebook page, you can just type PIRA and comes out, or if you want the URL, it's in the chat box. So without further ado, again, good afternoon, industry colleagues and dear friends. Welcome to the first installment of PIRA's continuing webinars to help the industry tech itself up and be ready for the future. Today's edition is in collaboration with our friends at KPMG RG Manabat, one of the leading thought leaders in this field. This, as always, is Mitch Relioso of PIRA, your moderator and host for the afternoon. Now, to help us understand data robotics, defined as the set of technologies and techniques and applications required to design and implement new automation processes based on self-learning and artificial intelligence technology, with the aim of increasing productivities and efficiencies of business processes. We are very lucky to have with us this afternoon two specialists in the field who have kindly agreed to share their knowledge and expertise with us. The first speaker is Ms. Doris Pastoriza. Doris is a senior manager under Technology Consulting Group of KPMG RG Manabat and Company. She has more than 15 years of experience doing project management, service delivery management, robotic process automation, capacity planning, and change management. Doris has been assigned to different industries, including energy, finance, retail, HR, procurement, and FMCG. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause to Ms. Doris Pastoriza.
Thank you, Sir Michael, and for that wonderful introduction. And thank you, Philippine Insurers and Reinsurers Association for this opportunity. And welcome to Decoding Data and Robotics. It is my pleasure and honor to be presenting in this webinar today. It's also my first time to have to be able to be broadcasted over a social media platform. So thank you for that. So I'd like to start this session with a short clip. So let's watch this video. Can we replay it with the audio, please? All right. So let's start off with this question. What is robotic process automation? So robotic process automation, or RPA, is software technology that's easy for anyone to use to automate digital tasks. So with RPA software, users can create robots or bots, as they call it, that can mimic and execute rules-based business processes. Robotic process automation software bots can interact with any application or target systems. So it's not intrusive. Whatever your existing infrastructure is, it will use the user route and connect to those applications or target systems the same way any person would do. Except the difference between an RPA bot from a human is that they can operate around the clock, 24/7, nonstop, much faster, and with much efficiency, or 100% reliability and precision. But the first question here is, what can be RPA'd, or what are good processes or candidates for robotic process automation? There. So yeah, that's the right slide. Sorry about that. Yes, the circle slide, please. There, thank you. So the first process must follow a set of rules or standards. This means you have been applying you've already been applying a good standard or practice around this process. It's already a mature process. It must be a stable process, meaning we do not expect further changes soon, and the process has been fully optimized to do the best version, to be the best version rather. The third point is a process must have a number of resources fulfilling it. So volume may be defined, or capacity may be defined by the number of resources currently handling that process, or the number of transactions that is being processed through that manual task. So RPA may be a solution to augment your resource. Next, it is critical to note that there is a limitation on how RPA accepts input data. So it should be in a digital form. Unless you have natural language processing incorporated in your RPA, or you have a separate tool or software for optical character recognition, a default of RPA is just to receive, or will only accept rather, an input file that is in a digital form. So for instances that it will require them to be read in an unstructured format, yes, there are other tools available outside RPA that you can use, like what I mentioned earlier, natural language processing or optical character recognition. And this can be integrated to the process to handle the input data part of the process. We mentioned voluminous, and reiterating here that volumes can be in frequency. Frequency meaning it can be a process that is going to be executed on a daily frequency, if not daily, weekly. Just the number of how often you do this process is voluminous in itself, as well as the number of transactions. And lastly, the process must be highly repetitive in nature. So that is a given, self-explanatory there. Now this screen, our screen right now is sharing a snapshot of some tasks that a robot can execute. So it's divided into 4 parts, but basically the first part, which is the trigger, is when the bot starts the process for you. So below this trigger table, there are different actions that or activities done for you to trigger a certain process. So email, for instance, that is something that a robot can do for you. So if a process is started by is triggered by an email or communication, SharePoint, for example, then that is something that a robot can also that can be automated through robotics. It is also mentioned here schedules. A bot can be run on a defined schedule. So that can also be a trigger point. So if you say it's a daily robot that needs to perform these tasks at 3 p.m. or 10 in the morning, or even after office hours, just to further optimize that license, yes, we can schedule a robot to run unassisted. The second part of this table is the acquired data. But in layman's terms, this can be the extract of the data or the robot can extract the data for you. So that may come in different forms, right? So some samples have been drawn up here in the table. Let me just pick up some. Okay, the most easiest one I saw was it can extract from any systems or target systems an Excel data, an Excel form. It can also extract dot files, whatever is the output of an existing system that you might have. If it's SAP, what extract does it produce? The robot can acquire that data or extract the data for you. So that's the second piece of this table. The third is it can do data activities for you or use the data, meaning how does one proceed with the data? You already have the extracted data, but there are several activities that can be done to this data for it to be of meaning or value to you in your work, right? So for example, it can match, it can do reconciliation, it can do it can merge files for you. If there are certain templates that you need to be, and there are several sources of information, it can extract the defined areas, what you need for that specific template or report that you're producing, and put it in that sheet or template that you require. And the last part is that it can end the process. So delivering whatever ends the process or the end-to-end part of the process. For example, you require to generate a report out of this, the robot can do that for you. If you require to email it to a specific set of recipients, the robot can also do that. So that's the key attributes in or tasks that a robot can execute. I'll move on to the sixth slide if you don't have any questions at this point. You can throw your questions over the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask the question. We don't mind if you stop us in the presentation. Okay, so I'll move to the next topic. So you might be wondering, what are the benefits of having RPA in your organization? So let's tackle first the cost part of it. I don't think it's going to be a good, what do you call this? Apples to apples if you compare how much it would cost to hire humans or human resources versus having an automation run the process for you. But outside from that cost difference or comparison, you can also look at the value creation. Yes, I'm hearing some. Hello?
Apologies, I think somebody has their mic on. Can we put ourselves on mute, please? Thank you.
All right, I thought a question was going over. Okay, I'll proceed then. So the performance part of it is that no, a person charges usually for overtime, right? But a robot won't do that. He can do work for you 24/7 and will not charge for overtime. And the redundant tasks that people start to dread. I know a lot of people have these stories that this is my title, or this is the job title that I have, but actually I'm stuck in doing some of these tasks or repetitive mundane tasks because I am required to do so. But if you can elevate those mundane tasks and give it to the robots, you actually free up that person and elevate them to a point that they can do more value add work outside those redundant tasks. Accuracy and quality, we don't have to speak milestones about this, but of course, if you have a program running your processes, it will have an accuracy that is expected. So there's no human error involved, no stringent changes to current processes. So you can audit the quality or accuracy of the processes that robotics can run for you. As I mentioned, employee satisfaction. So simple tasks are already being tedious or being dreaded by the person. Of course, you take that out of the person, or taking out the robot out of the human, so to speak, and the robots will let you focus on your higher value work. And of course, scalability. It is up to the organization to define how fast and how slow they would like to scale, because this is a software, and you can choose how fast or slow you want to go in automating in your organization. So those are the benefits of RPA. I'll move on to the next slide. There. So what does this statement mean? Digital workers interact with applications the same way a human does using the user interface. So robotics process automation is surface automation. It means that the robot will use the route that the user does in doing the end-to-end processing of that process. It can mimic how you handle your day-to-day activities on your workstation. Okay. So moving on to the next slide. Okay. Next slide, please. So adopting RPA provides businesses an opportunity for cost cutting and for achieving higher production, can significantly impact both costs and performance of business operations. RPA is readily accessible, and it has the capacity to produce a major change in the cost structure of an enterprise, thus enhancing sensitivity to the demands of your customers. It will also guide companies to use analytics and machine learning tools as part of a wider path, integrating data from around the company to enhance processes, occupancy rates, service quality, and workforce experience. So according to HFS globally, across the industries and sectors, there is now a smaller number of companies who are still contemplating about adopting RPA, and an even bigger number are already implementing RPA in their organization. So let's move on to the next slide. Actually, you're one slide behind. Yes, that one. And next slide, please. Where can RPA be implemented across functions? So we know that there are chatbots. I know you are familiar with a chatbot. You've been using chatbots on, you can even use chatbots on your messenger if you're not familiar. But chatbots is an example of an RPA implementation that is being used for customer experience. So it accelerates customer experience. Chatbots chatbots are also used for human resource. They use chatbots or RPA to do their onboarding and offboarding. So that means from the hiring of a resource until the retirement of that resource. RPA can assist in areas that are heavily regulated. So we see a lot of automations around risk and regulatory. And RPA is usually a tool of choice to assist in those areas because it is very mundane and there are a set of rules that you can follow. So that is a good, that's also a function wherein RPA is utilized. RPA can also be integrated into your existing IT platforms. So for example, you would like better assistance or better assistance in processes around your current IT platforms and supply chain. RPA can be integrated to your platform and to your existing supply chain and finance. We have also some clientele who would like to close their books or to help them close their financial books for the month at an earlier rate. So sometimes they use RPA to augment this, and it works. It's the KPI is the number of days allocated to do the close. So robotics process automation for one of our clients is used to minimize and reach and meet that KPI of 10 days to close their finances. So as long as a process fits the earlier metrics that we mentioned, it can be RPA, whatever part of the organization it may be. It can be legal, it can be procurement, it can also do scraping of data from websites. It can do, RPA can do that for you. It can also help us or assist us in all of the tasks that are heavy, volume heavy, frequently done in any parts or any functions of the organization. But as long as it falls under the 6 items or metrics that we mentioned earlier, then it could be a good candidate for robotic process automation. I'll pause for a while if anyone has some questions before I proceed to the next slide. Okay, we still don't have any questions. Are there questions in the chat? Okay. Maybe they'd want to reserve their questions in the tail end of the presentation. So I'll proceed to the next slide. So if you're just beginning your automation journey and you want to start, of course, with the best foot possible, or you want to double check your foundations before growing your any RPA opportunity. So we have this proven implementation methodology. It actually empowers you to successfully launch, maintain, and scale your digital workforce. Let's start with vision. We must create a vision for your digital workforce, and it is based on your organization's strategy, digital roadmap, digital transformation goals. This way, your robotic process automation will support your long-term roadmap for your digital landscape. Organization. What is organization? How does organization rather fit into this operating model? So the organization design will be the best, should be able to support delivery of your RPA capability. And it should align with your corporate strategy, as mentioned, the vision. And aside from that, part of it is, and essential, integral part of it is culture shift. Culture shift will be driven by human resource. So if you look at it from the top, there are a lot of involvement from stakeholders, and it will move across functions. It should not be owned by one business unit, but by several, and shared as a organizational strategy or plan towards your goals or digital goals. So culture shift is, or culture change is expected because we need to communicate internally and externally how RPA, how people will accept, acknowledge, or how they read, how they interpret RPA. They might think that it's something that will replace their work. So human resources should be able to come in and provide that correct mindset that it is not here as a threat to replace you or change how we are currently set up, but it's a value creation. Use it as a value creation that you won't be stuck in doing those redundant tasks, but rather a robot will be coming in to take away that robotic part or robot process from you, right? The third part of this, or the third part of this, is governance and pipeline. It is important to have a governance, or what we call a center of excellence around robotic process automation implementation. The governance team is the team involved in selecting, assessing, and providing a sustainable automation pipeline. They are also the ones controlling and providing stakeholders the view on how these projects are being tracked, or how are they being, what is the progress of these processes, the benefits or the value creation, the value of these processes as well. This is the governance team rather takes care of this part for the whole organization. So it's important to have a governance team or a center of excellence set up internally. Usually this comprises of business unit heads from different functions of the company. This way, they become the receiving parties of processes that can be a candidate for RPA. They do process prioritization because they need to find out which of these processes would have will reap the most benefits, so that the ROI can be met earlier on. The fourth part is called delivery. So delivery, there's an option to outsource delivery, or you can have your team, your process team, business team, take on the role of delivery. So what does this mean? Delivery usually is the part where we have the software already. It's producing these results. How do we maintain this software? And if there are inefficiencies identified, how do we take care of those inefficiencies and bring them to the point of acceptance? So the delivery team should be the person, or that team will be doing the support and maintenance of these robots when they're already live in production. So as mentioned, you can partner with your choice of service for this service delivery. You can get a third party to do this for you, or you can do it in-house. We have some instances that the client does it on their own. We do handover training right after hypercare of a robot. So hypercare means the robot is already running as expected. So once that has been aligned, approved by the process owner, then we do the training on how they will handle it or support it for them to run regularly on the schedules that they have defined. So the delivery model is really up to the team on how they would like to execute it. And that goes hand in hand with service. Of course, as mentioned, it's the operational part or the support of maintaining these spots that are live. And amongst these is getting your metrics, measuring the success of are the outputs of these robotics meeting your expectations. So reporting to the stakeholders those metrics or meaningful metrics would give, of course, it will open up a business case already for those who would like to start their RPA journey. But you will be able to gauge the success of your implementations by doing by defining metrics and measuring them consistently. And of course, people. The heart of RPA is people, because the reason why we're doing robotics process automation is to provide value to our people. And we should be able to build teams and define the appropriate RASI or roles and skills to help build and run a successful digital force. The last aspect or the last part of this model is technology. Of course, there are a lot of platforms available in the market for robotic process automation. But I'll just highlight the top three that is being used globally or highly used globally. That's Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, and UiPath. So these scalable technical these tools rather can be associated also with growth. So the purpose of you to choose the platform that will fit your organization is dependent on your holistic approach. So if you are seeing yourself to move further from robotics process automation to cognitive automation, which is the more intellectual aspect of automation, this means the robots can do decision making already. They can perform algorithm to be able to provide the next steps or learn from the data that is being fed to them. So technology, choosing a right partner or technology RPA tool for you is based on what they offer. What are the offerings? Most of these available platforms, like the three that I mentioned, already have integrated artificial intelligence, machine learning, optical character recognition, natural language processing. But it's competitive. All three for us is in the same level or competitiveness, and they're all progressively moving towards the cognitive automations. So
Sorry,
technology would choosing the best partner. Yes.
sorry, I caught you in the middle of a statement. What? Sorry. Just a question, maybe to bring it closer to the appreciation of the audience. Um, can you give us concrete examples of where RPA is used in the insurance industry? Well, obviously, one thing I could think of is in finance, right? Cutting checks or collections, etc. Those lend itself to the robotic process. But what in the other areas? What other areas in the insurance company can RPA be very useful?
Well, the list is endless.
Can we use it only in
But
underwriting?
I don't have it. I don't have the library on me right now, but I can share the use cases for the industry, specific to the industry. But I don't want to hold you. I don't want to keep your hands tied to what is being done outside. Each organization will be unique from each other, but usually we start in the finance. Most of our most of our experience are in the finance. It doesn't matter what sector they belong to, but it's usually financial close, accounts payable, all the different tax processes available, EWT, WVAT. Yeah, the list is endless.
Unless,
There are common processes, even if an organization is from a different sector, but they are mostly the same.
well, the reason I'm
For the
asking
insurance,
this,
yeah,
the reason I'm asking this is that we do have a diverse audience,
yeah,
and not everybody's from the finance field, not everybody's from the tech field. So
yes,
I'm trying to find common ground so that everybody's a better appreciation of the topic.
that's right, Sir Michael.
Right, right,
Thank you for that. Yes, RPA can be utilized throughout the organization across functions, across different sectors. It's just a matter of if this can be RPA. The question is if this is something, is if this process of mine is something that can be RPA. And you can answer it by going through the criteria that we shared earlier. Is it something that is stable? Is it mature? Is it a process that you know will not change in the near future? Is it a process that is rule-based? Because if a process is rule-based, we know that it is mature. It's easy to document and do the robotic equivalent design for it. And if it's, yeah, I mentioned that if you have structured or unstructured data, you have tools to use if you have unstructured data. But RPA only digests digital forms. So a process, if it's not in digital, if the extracts are not in digital format, then I would recommend you to remove it from your prioritization unless you already have those tools like natural language processing or optical character recognition available to you to integrate to your RPA. But yeah, if you follow those set of rules or criteria that we've shared, your process can be something to be RPA.
right.
Doesn't limit you. It doesn't limit you whatever sector you're from, whatever function you belong to, any part of the organization, as long as it is a mundane, repetitive task that falls under those criteria, it
Then
can be
it's
a
a
good candidate
candidate.
for RPA.
Okay.
Yes.
There is a follow-up question from the chat box from Dr. Benedicto. Can the software be customized to support the main processes in a non-life insurance company, such as underwriting and catastrophe risk management?
The answer there is yes, because robotic process automation is customized to address the process that we will replace with a robot. So yes, for underwriting, as long as it's already a rules-based process and a robot will be able to mimic it. Target systems are stable, meaning it won't change. You won't have a migration in the next year or so. Then we can do robotic process automation on these processes.
But you know what? When I was learning insurance, one thing I remember from my mentors is the fact that they said in order to be a good underwriter, you have to be a good gambler.
Oh, so you have that decision making.
there is still
Yes.
that decision making within the underwriting process
Yeah.
that I don't think a robot can fill.
Yes and no. Decision making, as mentioned, is part of the cognitive automation. So you need to move further from robotic process automation into the cognitive aspect, which includes algorithm and artificial intelligence. But currently, we do have processes that are taken outside from RPA. Tax, for example, has a draft procedure. So they do the drafting of the tax, and there is a review in between that process. Like a person needs to review first. So a set of people would need to review it first before it goes to the e-filing process or the end part of the filing of that particular tax. So that's a human in the loop. That can be done as long as it's part of the design of the process. So you mentioned that there are some parts of the process that needs a human in the loop, like that particular decision making factored in. And yes, that can be done, but that is not an unassisted robotics. That's unassisted robotics process automation. Sir Michael.
I see. So, pwede naman. We can add robotics and human
Yes.
touch. All right, interesting.
Yes.
There is a request from Coco Jans Krisky. Can you repeat the three again? Blue Prism, automate everywhere, and
Automation anywhere, or AA, and UiPath.
UiPath.
Those are the top three robotics process automation platforms available.
I see. There is a suggestion from Mr. Ariel Meneses. He says, I suggest UiPath. It has free community edition and a training academy. Thanks for this info, Ariel. And
Yes.
then Rodrigo Mangas, I think, is trying to answer the question. He says naman, you may start with renewals. Yeah, because this is pretty robotic nga. It's a repetitive process. There is a question from Ms. Sita Pineda. Will the use of the software reduce the number of employees in a certain department?
Yes, that happens. We have this client that was able to reduce from his department 3 FTEs. So that's 3 resources moved out from his organization to another function. So it wasn't they were removed from the company itself, but they were moved out to another function of the company.
So the question here is this going to be cheaper than having people on board to do the same processes?
Cheaper
Interesting.
Sorry?
Cheaper to use RPA instead of using people to do the process that RPA is taking over.
Yes, that's what I presented earlier.
Yeah.
We don't want to compare how much it would cost for a person to do the job versus a robot doing the job. There are other benefits outside FTE analysis, value creation, like we are able to provide more value to that person because he or she is already doing more value add work, for example, or the changes implemented via RPA boosted the morale of the person to analyze the benefits of RPA, not just on FTE.
But I'm sure RPA would also have a cost. I mean,
Yes.
software is not cheap, I think.
Yes, that's correct. To give you an example, well, let's go to Blue Prism because it's the most straightforward in terms of licensing. Blue Prism license would cost around 500,000 pesos. And for that one license, you can run multiple robots just as long as one robot is there are no two robots running at the same time. So that means you can have multiple robots running, but not at the same time because you only have one license, and that's 500,000. So you can schedule multiple processes to run every day, just as long as none of those schedules would conflict. One license would suffice. Sir
I think
Michael.
given the times that we're in now with the pandemic and people working from home, maybe RPA makes sense during these days. No? Just a thought.
Yes, that's correct. We have facts backing that up. In fact, in 2021, RPA was tantamount to reach 2 billion globally, but it has already surpassed the 2 billion mark. And it is projected to reach by 2022, 53% more of what was reached in 2021. So we're not slowing down. We're actually rapidly increasing. The pandemic has escalated this even further because of what you cited, Sir Michael. Remote or hybrid work is already the new normal. So robotics have access. If we have access to your target systems, to your current processes, then robotics can do those processes for you. He or the robotic resource will not be going on vacation leave or will have sick leaves. It will constantly do that process for you on the defined timelines.
Doris, in the Philippine setting, marami na kayong nakikita na companies na nag-RPA?
We do have several accounts. We have conglomerates as well that expanded it to to their other sister companies. And yeah, it's moving fast. And for the Philippines, it's the same.
Wow.
Globally and in the Philippines, it's moving fast.
We have a question here from Francis Papa of IIAP. He says, I am guessing RPA should be applied to processes in the company that are relatively straightforward. Is RPA technology already that advanced that it can be used for claims servicing?
Well, if we break down the claims servicing process, take out the decision-making parts of it, then yes, it can be a candidate for RPA. Sir Michael?
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Well, those are the questions we have for now, so you can continue, Doris. Sorry to butt in.
No worries. I'll swiftly go through the next. I want to give time for my colleague for data and analytics. So I'll move on to the next slide. So as I mentioned, the approach or strategy for the company must be holistic. It will align all your business gears. And that means support from your leaders ensures that the overall, we are aligned for the overall digital strategy. Human resource will facilitate culture dynamics, which is the shift that I was mentioning earlier on, and be able to communicate it effectively to your stakeholders, may it be internal or external markets. And also, as mentioned, you have to have your automation governance set up properly, or even your center of excellence. This will ensure that process selection and mining is executed on a timely manner. Also to further optimize the licenses that you have purchased. Talent acquisition, of course, you need to have the right people for the right roles, and partnering with the right vendors, purchasing the right tools, and having the right skills. Or if your human resource can do upskilling or retooling of the resources for you. That means those, let's say, given the instance that anyone or FTEs are taken out of the equation, these resources can be retooled to do or handle other jobs outside what the robot can already handle for them. And basically preparing the digital workforce for change management. Of course, change management will be across your functions or your businesses. So what would be a good starting point for an organization to implement RPA? Okay, so I can leave you this activity. You can do this on your own, but let me just give you how we usually do it. How do we do process discovery? So let's move on to the 15th slide, please. Thank you. So first, you must define what processes can be automated. Use these guidelines that are being shared on the screen. Tick off from your checklist whatever levels of standardization have been implemented. So move those up into your board. If this process has been optimized to the best version of itself, move it up to your RPA board. Take out for the moment processes that have decision making or analysis. As mentioned earlier, it can improve a certain process. It's not recommended, but for example, it's needed in this, it's a business requirement for this process to have that particular step in it that a person will be in the loop, then maybe as a latter process in your prioritization list. What frequency is it processed? What volumes are involved? And how much time does it take to complete the process end to end? All of these should be kept in mind when we do our selection of processes. And also, should an automation be implemented, what do you think will be the benefits? Of course, the benefits, as mentioned, robots don't go on leave. They work 24/7. They provide accuracy in the output 100% of the time. And you can schedule them even after office hours. They don't have overtime. But of course, they need to have all of these criteria. Follow the set of rules, must be a mature and stable process, must be able to augment some capacity issues, must have input data that is in a digital format or readable format. It should be a voluminous process, and it must be highly manual and repetitive in nature. Now that you have a list, how do we sort them out to which we will implement RPA first? So we have what we call a process prioritization. A development or a process will be labeled as, or will fall into a complexity level. A complexity level means a development might be low, medium, or high complexity. And usually this is assessed by an engineer, the person who will be designing the robot. They will provide you an assessment of the complexity in developing the process that you provided. So you selected the process. Now the engineer will assess how much time will it take to develop this process. So process owners and leads needs to define what processes have high volume, low or high benefits that can be measurable. So high and low benefits would mean volume, frequency, pain point level, how many resources are doing the task. So if you have a process that have multiple resources handling it, that would be a good candidate for robotics process automation. And some organizations want faster implementations. They may tend to choose processes with low complexity but low benefits. So these are low-hanging fruits, as they call it. But others would use their most painful processes to put forward, regardless of development complexity. Because they'd like to reap the rewards faster. So estimating the business value is at the core of this illustration. Even if a process meets all criteria implementing RPA, it will only yield substantial benefit if the process is positioned to drive value for the organization. We must look at efficiency, cost avoidance, quality improvement, and growth scalability. When selecting processes for RPA implementation, the goal is evaluating speed to value and prioritizing processes where automation can deliver the greatest value while mitigating risks. In the shortest time frame, it can be helpful to visualize processes within a dynamic matrix of complexity versus business value and prioritize accordingly. Now, one of the biggest shifts in finance forcing change is in big data and analytics. And with that, I would like to give the floor over to Jennifer Diaz, our Senior Manager for Data and Analytics. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second speaker is none other than Mr. Jens Diaz. Nagulat rin ako, Jennifer, pero Jens. Anyway, Jens is a Senior Data Specialist 3 under the Technology Consulting Group of KPMG RG Manabat and Company. Jens has more than 14 years of experience in the IT industry. He has a strong background in data analytics, analysis, design, estimation, development, implementation, stabilization, and maintenance using different databases and web technologies. Jens has experience handling projects from the requirement gathering to post-implementation phases in various buckets, be they SDLC, maintenance and bug fixing, or production support. He has also experience in using SQL, Excel, ETL tools, data visualization tools, and other appropriate analytical tools. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jens Diaz. Jens?
Thank you, Sir Michael. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. Hello, can you hear me clearly? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Jens.
All right. So thank you for that wonderful introduction. So I have only 30 minutes left, so I'll make it quick. And thank you, Doris, for the very engaging presentation about RPA. So technically, RPA and data analytics go on hand together. So in KPMG, we work together with Doris for any automations, digitalization. So Doris' team will build the RPA, and my team will build the data visualizations and the analytics part. So today, I'm going to present to you about data and analytics. So I'm sure you all heard about the buzzword analytics. So it's either data and analytics, it's either business analytics, advanced analytics, predictive analytics, and so on and so forth. But when you heard the word data analytics, so what comes in our mind? So it sounds very, complex word like analytics, but analytics is a science of analyzing raw data to make conclusions about that information. So basically, we use techniques to do data mining, do data explanatory or the EDA or explanatory data analysis. So we use that for getting actionable insights. So many companies now has been using data analytics in their organization because they want to be a data-driven organization and a data-centric organization. So maybe not all has been using data analytics in the organization, but in this digital age, right? So in the times of pandemic, that people, can go outside and stay at home. So organizations have been leveraging the power of analytics. So example, Netflix, they are using analytics, right? Recommendation engine. If you watch, let's say, a movie in Netflix, you will notice that there's a recommended movie that you're going to watch. So if you watch this, so you most likely also want to watch this type of movie. Amazon, right? Amazon, Facebook. So there's less of good ads in Facebook. So It's an analytic part algorithm that able to identify the user's preference based on the browsing, on how that user, use the Facebook. What else? Shopee and Lazada, Grab, right? So more and more companies now into digital. So they are leveraging the power of analytics to understand their customers' behavior, how they shop, right? So example for Shopee, so they will recommend you that if you shop or if you buy this product, so definitely you want to also interested to buy this kind of product. So that's how analytics works. So it's a analyzing raw data, understanding the behavior of your customer. So data analytics are the necessary foundation for data-driven organization. So if you want to be successful, if you want to stay in the competition, because doing business is really difficult right now in this time of pandemics. If you want to be ahead of the competition, so you should be a data-driven organization. But how you can achieve that data-driven organization or data-centric organization? So you have to sorry, leverage and take advantage of data. So as we all know, as the define data, data is the new oil of the 21st century. Or others says data is the soil of the new, let's say, century. Why? Because oil is very important. We use oil, right, for transportations and other stuff, but you can only use oil if you cultivate it, if you do something about it. Same with data. So organizations, especially for a big corporation that has been in the business for, let's say, a decade already, I'm sure they gather lots of data from their customers, right? So example, let's say supermarket or grocery stores that has, let's say, loyalty card. So the purpose of that is for them to capture the information of their customers. And based on that, they do data mining, make strategic decision based on the data, based on how their customers shop, and they do some product endorsement and so on and so forth based on algorithm. So if you want to be a data-driven organization, you have to leverage the power of your data, because data is useless if that will just sit in your data warehouse. So maybe you have millions and billions of data, but unfortunately you are not leveraging that data, right? So for you to be able to data-driven, so make sure that you are a data-centric organizations and you use the power of your data that's already there, right? Okay, now it makes sense of industry business needs and take action. So it's a combination of descriptive, predictive, and cognitive analytics. When it say descriptive, it is you discover sort information, you do report and analyze the data. So for the discovery stage, so you do data mining, so get some actionable insights. So what we can get from out of that data. Now for the report, you create this data visualization. It's very common right now that organizations have been doing data visualization, like let's say Power BI, Tableau, Click, or Excel. Excel is very common to do dashboarding, right? So for the reporting. So you do the data visualization and then you report that to your stakeholder for them to understand what's happening in your business, right? And then you analyze data. So it could be a structured or semi-structured data. And then you do predictive analytics. You want to predict, decide, and act. So predictive analytics is a more advanced compared to descriptive, because descriptive you just want to show, okay, how are we doing in this particular product, in this particular location, the sales, are we hitting the target or not, how many people buy our product, and so on and so forth. But for predictive analytics part, we predict what will happen in the future. So let's say you will do demand forecasting, you will do supply chain analytics or the customer analytics. So you predict what will happen in the next 6 months, 12 months, or the next 3 years with regards to your sales. And then for cognitive, we understand, we reason and learn. So it's a combination of AI, artificial intelligence, and data and analytics. So we want to gain unique insight into people things on business. So how you'll do that? So data you possess plus data that helps you complete and the data that's in motion. So for the data you possess is the data you have in your data warehouse. So I'm sure all of your organization right now has data warehousing. If none, so you better, create a data warehouse because you need to have a single source truth of data. Because it's really difficult to create, a data-driven organization if you have a what we call this one, silos data. So different units, departments have different data. So they own that. So do not share that to other, collaboration, because you cannot create a good decision, strategic decision without creating a standard information or what we call, we have your data strategy, data governance. So create a data warehouse that able to, get informations into one, then that will be used for your reporting and other analytical reporting. Right. So for the data that helps you complete the news, events, image, data, social media. So as we all know, social media now is very in demand. So people use social media to post their, sentiments. So we use sentiment analytics to get the sentiments of the people, especially if you're running a retail business. So you want to understand, how the people react on your product. So we can do that using sentiment analysis. And then there's a data in motion like the IoT or I, IoT, Internet of Things, sensor data, and geospatial. So, next slide, please. So how to become a data-driven organization? So basically, we have these steps that we want to achieve for us to become a data-driven organization, because it's not easy to be a data-driven organization. It's a long process. It's not just a one project implementation. It's a continuous implementation, continuous project. You need the first challenge for you to become a data-driven organization is the mindset of the people, as well as the data that you have. So do you have the enough data? So they have, centralized data. They have the mindset, the people, because we have to align our data strategy or data governance strategy to our business strategy, right? So it should be a top-down approach, not the bottom-up approach, because it's easy for us to implement a data-driven organization if we have the support from the upper management, like our CIO, CEO, right? So because we need fundings, budget for us to implement a data-driven organization. And without support from the top management, therefore, it's easiest to implement a data-driven organization, right? So should be a champion analytics from the top. So champion analytics from the top, meaning you have your CEO, you have the CIO, we have the CDO, Chief Data Officer, we have the CTO, another leadership team that will support your objective. And it should be aligned with the business strategy. Then focus your analytics efforts. We have create a single analytics initiative. Then we need to establish analytics culture. So when we talk single analytics initiative is that we have to place all data collection and analysis activities under a common leadership with a common technology and tools. So you need to facilitate data sharing and avoid the impediments of inconsistency reporting formats, data definition, and standards. So you need someone who will lead the organization to be a data-driven organization. Empower and educate the team on analytics. Use the right technology. So there are lots of technology in the market. So it's up to you to study that technology and what's best for your organization. If it aligns with your strategy, then you need to make sure that it is the right technology that you're going to purchase and to implement that analytics part. Enable access to the data. So you have your data governance, a data strategy that should be implemented before moving on to a data-driven organization. Next slide, please. So with the use of data and analytics, we can unlock insights. by translating signals received from customers, especially if you are in a retail corporation, retail sector, and you want to understand your customers' habit, customers' behavior. That's why many organizations right now are, capturing data from their customers because they want to understand the demographic, how their customers behave, shop, if they, offer new products, what's the sentiment of their customers. So we can use that. We can analyze that using analytics. Build picture by following trail of data left by customer interaction. Understand customer by mining most granular level of internal data, and quick win by executing focused project and be accurate in future. So there are lots of things that we can do with analytics, but the most important factors that we can consider is, of course, if we have the right data, right? So if you have the right data, because whatever your plans for you to be successful in terms of transforming your business, but you don't have enough data, gather data that you can, strategically do some road mapping, understanding your customers' behavior. Then it's really difficult for you to, to win your customer. So based on our experience, when we had this particular client that they want, it's a finance company that they want to understand, how their customers behave in terms of purchasing loans and other stuff. So they want to understand how they can, they can retain their customers, the loyalty of their customers, because you want to have a lead generation in terms of how they, take good care of their loyal clients, and then what they can do more to improve in terms of their customer loyalty. So we applied more advanced analytics in that. We try to understand how the customers behave, and then we attack in terms of, the model, create a model, a data, predictive models rather, sorry, on how we could, understand the customer's behavior, doing some regression analysis, or doing some, let's say, clustering. So your market basket analysis in terms of understanding how your customers behave. It depends on, the different sectors and so on and so forth. Right. So next slide, please. So data analytics become a vital tool for success. So if you want to stay on the competition, so definitely have to do more and do better, right? So because as I mentioned a while ago, companies now are really improving, doing something different, leveraging the power of technology, like doing some digital transformation, automating their works, right? So leveraging the power of machine learning, artificial intelligence. So if we want to be successful, so we need to ensure that we use the right tool for our analytics part. So just when you talk about data analytics, it's a set of capabilities, methodologies, and solution environments. So like data and technology, so helps you drive insights to business questions, enabling organizations to make best decisions, because it's no longer relevant that you will use your gut feel, right, intuition, to make strategic decisions. So senior leadership team right now is using analytics to make strategic decisions on their business. So you need to provide facts and figures for them to make decisions. So before we are using our intuition, okay, I believe that this will be helpful because it's intuition. So it's my feeling that we can do better in this area, right? But right now we are doing, we are using facts and figures, data. We use historical data to understand, our clients, and to create a more strategic decisions on how we can do better with our business. So data analytics is not simply a technology or a tool, rather an encompassing corporate initiative which should address business strategies, governance, data technology, analytics, insight, and performance. So I mentioned a while ago about data governance, data strategy, because it's really important that we have to implement this type of stuff, because it should be important if we want to be a data-driven organization. So there should be, sorry, we should have a very strong data strategy aligned with our business strategy, because we cannot move forward and we people working in the organizations will be a blinded or don't have enough information or objectives how why we're going why we are doing this kind of transformation. Okay, so it also enables clients to affect customer value and customer experience strategies with more targeted and efficient marketing, sales, services, customer engagement tactics, and so on and so forth. It helps embedding data-driven insights into decisions and actions across all elements of the customer life cycle. So next slide, please. So here we provided 6 major benefits of data and analytics for optimistic business outcomes, but there are lots of other benefits, but we just feel that these are one of the critical aspects that we can consider if we want to be, successful with our aim to become a data-driven organization. So I will discuss further on the details later on the next slide, but there are the 6 major benefits. So a more informed decision-making, more efficient operations, greater revenue, effective marketing, better customer service, and delivering relevant products. So moving to the next slide for more detailed explanation. So more informed decision making. So it can be a valuable resource when approaching an important strategic decision. As I mentioned a while ago, that intuition is no longer relevant in this digital age. Right, so we need facts, figures, we need analytics to make decisions wise. If we want to stay on top on the competitions. Greater revenue. Next slide, please. Greater revenue. So companies that embrace data and analytics initiatives can experience significant financial returns. Although it's not that instant, that if you implement data and analytics in your organizations, you will have ROI immediately. It takes time because you have to, of course, build your data governance, create your data strategy, so align, communicate with the people. There should be an alignment within the organizations before implementing data and analytics, right? So it will take time, but I can assure you that it will be a significant impact in your organization, because you're able to understand how your customers behave, what's the standing of your company in terms of the competitors, how you are behaving, how you as customer behaving, so you can forecast the sales. What else? You can predict what will happen in the next 6 to 12 months, and you can do some adjustment on your marketing strategy, right? So next slide is better customer service. So data and analytics provide you with more insights into your customers. So for example, for your customer analytics, so you understand your customer's behavior. So from there, you will adjust based on their preferences. Because as we all know right now, gone are the days that the company is the one who drive in terms of the needs of the customers. Today, customers drive the impact in terms of what they want for a certain product, and organization will adjust, right? So, for example, in terms of we have the reviews, you can find reviews in Facebook, in Twitter, Instagram, right? So customers now drive the change in terms of how the organizations will do business. So we need to understand our customers and make strategic plan on how we could win our customers, and we have to how can we retain our loyal customers. So we can use maybe, let's say, predictive analytics right? To understand our churn customers, so how their sentiments in terms of our products and how we can improve our service. So for example, our telco company, right? So we don't have enough choice because we only have three telcos here in the Philippines. But so this should create a predictive model that will understand their customers' behavior, their customer sentiments, and they could improve more on their services. But in a small scale industry, so it's really important that we should think out of the box and do something on how we could improve our services and gain more customers, and help our customers decide on what they want to do, and then improve the overall customer experience journey. Then delivering relevant products. So effective collation combined with analytics helps companies stay competitive when demand changes or new technologies develop. More effective marketing. So this one also we could use digital marketing. So next slide, please. So there are lots of tools that we can use in terms of digital marketing, like the Google Ads, Google Analytics, Facebook Analytics. What else? We can also use other sophisticated tools for digital analytics. So we need to understand in terms of how our customers, shop and how they need to browse in the site or in the social media, right? And then it is very helpful for the marketing team if they want to market new products, so they get the sentiment survey, the pulse of their customers on that area. And then more efficient operations. So next slide, please. One more slide. So more efficient operations. So data analytics can help you streamline your processes, save money, and boost your bottom line. So overall, the goal of the business is to earn, right? So have a better revenue. At the same time, of course, we want to help how our customers have a better customer experience. So basically, we need to leverage the data that we have, right? So making sure that we understand our customers and we make good decisions in terms of how we market our product and how we could, entice our customers to patronize our product. So there are lots of things that we can do with data and analytics. So it's not just about creating predictive analytics, creating customer analytics. There are lots of things. It can be from a back end, front end, and other stuff. It could be an advanced analytics part wherein we involve artificial intelligence and cognitive learning. So, but it depends on the company's objectives and the mission and vision and the strategy of the company, because the data analytics team will always be what to call this one, aligned. They should be aligned always in terms of the business strategy. And of course, we mentioned a while ago also that it should be supported by our senior leadership team to get fundings and support to push forward in terms of making or having a data-driven organization. So I'll pause for a while, and I believe we have only 4 minutes for any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Jens. Given the fact that RPA and data analytics are relatively new in our industry, we have an intriguing question from the CIO of Malayan, Ms. Abet Adversalo. Her question is, how can companies that do not yet have data scientists harness the benefits of these advanced analytic tools? For example, how would we know that a prediction by analytics is reliable?
All right, thank you for that question. So, so not all companies right now have a data scientist. Now it's a booming industry, so there are a huge gap in terms of skills in data scientists. But we can start maybe doing data analysis. So you do not need to hire immediately data scientists. You can do step-by-step process for you to be a data-driven organization. So like for in the insurance company, so if you don't have data scientists in the organization and you want to start doing analytics part, so you can start from small, but because it's really difficult to implement a huge project with data analytics because there's a lot of things you have to consider, right? So you can start based on my experience, we can start small, like let's say use whatever you have right now tools. So the most common tools we have right now is Excel, and everybody knows how to use Excel, right? So you can start there. You can do some because Excel also can do lots of things, right? Like you can do data visualizations and analytics part, although there are limitations with Excel, but it's a good starting point for you to start doing analytics part. So you can do data analysis, understand first your data, but before you can do that, you have to make sure you have the right data, right? So maybe because if you want to try to do analytics part and you want to push harder to do data analysis and you want to predict something, but you don't have enough data, and if your data is not clean, your data is in silos, so in different location. So maybe what you can do is start from, having a data warehouse if you don't have yet, or if it's small organization, so maybe you can, even though you don't have data warehouse, you can have, let's say, a database that you can store all the information. And from there, once you have all the information in one location, so that's the time you can start doing analytics, or let's say not that advanced, but more on analyzing first. You can start doing predictive, descriptive analytics, meaning understanding the sales of your organization. So in terms of the trend, let's say you can start 5 years ago, this is our sales, and then uh, let's say to 2020, 2018 down to up to 2022. So this is our sales. You can start that simple descriptive analytics.
Thanks, Chance. Another question from Misita Pineda. What do you think will the data analytics and robotics situation will be 5 years from now?
Yeah, so thank you. So based on what I have in research, so analytics still in demand the market. So there will be new will be coming in, especially for the advanced analytics, the IoT, the Internet of Things. Based on what I have read by Gartner, so usually what we use in terms of analytics, we use Python, the open source application for creating models. But more and more company, as they predicted that they are more into a custom software analytics. Example, let's say RapidMiner, Azure machine learning. So more companies will be now adapting that kind of customized machine learning application. Still, more companies are moving into a data-driven organization because of this is the growth and the need to be a data-driven organization. So that's based on Gartner when I do research maybe last week ago.
Thank you. No further questions from the floor.
All right, so maybe I can move forward. So I have a few more slides. So although it's a more part of how we can help you guys in terms of if you want to be ahead of the competition. So for KPMG, so we have a center of excellence in terms of data analytics, RPA, digital transformation. So we partner with different software company like Microsoft, Azure, Microsoft, AWS, SaaS company, and we have lots of expertise in terms of implementing BI solutions, big data applications, RPA applications. So not just only in KPMG Philippines, but we have a global network in a different countries all over the world for KPMG Global. The next slide, please. So our solutions and areas focus in KPMG. So we do data visualization, and I believe most organizations are into it right now. So my advice, maybe if you are not yet ready to purchase BI tool, so you can start using Excel, because Excel you can do great in Excel in terms of visualizations. What else? Exploratory data analysis. You can do some basic predictions. So I would suggest that you can leverage Excel. But if you're into purchasing BI tools, so there are lots like the most common one is Tableau, Power BI, and then ClickSense. So we also offer advanced analytics. So doing some NLP, text analytics, and other more advanced analytics. So we partner with our alliance partner to come up with the solutions for our clients. Then we do also training, learnings, etc. Do data mining and data lakes. So go next slide, please. So this is the last slide before our short demo. So KPMG has been awarded as the leader in data analytics globally. So from Gartner, Forrester, and FHS Research. So if you need more consultation in terms of RPA, data analytics, and other solutions that we offered in KPMG, so you can reach out to us, and we're happy and glad to do some consultation with you and help you in terms of addressing your concerns and problems. So that's the last slide, and then we'll have a quick demo on RPA plus data visualization.
Once the RPA tool has saved the data into our shared repository, the data can be fetched by our dashboard creation software, Power BI. Power BI is a powerful reporting tool that allows users to create interactive and insightful dashboards through an easy-to-use interface. The dataset that we use for this project is the Consumer Expectation Survey report from the BSP website. The Consumer Expectation Survey captures the economic outlook of consumers as an indication of the country's future economic conditions. It is a quarterly survey of a random sample of about 5,000 households in the Philippines. The first page of the report presents the overall trend of the confidence index currently, for the next quarter, and for the next 12 months. We can see that after a large dip in the confidence index from the first to third quarter of 2020, the last 3 quarters have seen a gradual increase in the confidence index from negative 47.9 to negative 34.7 to negative the next quarter. In this page, we show the trend of percentage of households that consider the current quarter and the next 12 months a good time to spend their money. For the next plots, we have the proportion of households who are intending to buy house and lots in the next 12 months, grouped by the type of house and lot that they intend to buy, and the trend in prices the house and lots they intend to buy. Next, we have a page dedicated to presenting some economic indicators given by the data. We have 9 line graphs that show unemployment rate, interest rate, and inflation rate across the Philippines, NCR, and in the areas outside of NCR. The last column of visualizations are the forecasted value of each indicator. This next page contains a bar chart of the proportion of respondents who spend OFW remittances in select areas such as education, medicine, or debts. This is an interactive plot with a slicer, which we can use to toggle between data for the whole Philippines, only NCR, or only areas outside of NCR. The next page contains bar charts that show the percentage of households that allot their savings to specific areas such as savings in a bank, loans, cooperatives, or other household expenses. Again, we use a slicer which can filter out the data across income levels to see how the percentages change across these income levels. And finally, the final page is dedicated to showing the trends in household debt. We have a plot that is a line graph showing the percentage of household with loans for the past 12 months, while the bar charts show the change in allocation of savings. Again, we have a slicer, which we can use to see the trend in the percentage of the type of loans that households may take on. Thank you for watching and listening to this video. This has been a step-by-step demonstration on how to set up your automation to extract data from the web through an RPA tool and to input it into Power BI to process and present the data in a more digestible manner.
All right, so that is definitely, we apologize for the spillover of 11 minutes actually, but we'd like to take in some questions if you do have some more. I believe the chat has a lot more questions there. Sir Michael?
I think there's just 2 more. Does your service include the determining of the algorithm in creating desired analytics? Example, the algorithm in determining the maximum retention per policy during underwriting.
Jens?
Yeah, I guess this is for data analytics question. Yes, we use that. We have that service. So we have a diverse services here in KPMG. So from basic analytics to advanced analytics. So we just need to understand your challenges, the requirements, and then we can sit you on that one, and then we could provide you proposed solutions.
Another question is, can the users of these apps still need to know the programming languages such as, he says, SQL, etc.?
Yeah, for data, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
For data analytics, for Power BI, so you don't need skill in SQL, but as a rule of thumb, if you want to be a data scientist, a data engineer, you should have at least a minimum requirements for you to understand SQL. Yeah.
For RPA, most of the tools are drag and drop, but we still need to undergo the foundations training so that we'll be able to utilize those tools.
Thanks. I think those are the questions for now. The others were asked earlier during your talk. So I guess that's it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
We'd like to thank Doris and Jens for speaking today and KPMG for lending them to us. We hope the topic today whets your appetite for the numerous ways of how we can tech up your respective companies and the industry. The time for teching up is past due, so let's not get left behind. Thank you for joining us, and keep tabs on future webinars by PIRA in collaboration with topical specialists. Have a good afternoon, everybody, and stay safe.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Pira. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So KPMG, you have your contact details just in case anybody wants to contact you. Anyway, we'll give it to them.
Yes, we'll provide that after
Yeah.
this.
When we email them the materials used today, make sure you attach your contact details.
Sure, we will. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jens.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doris.
Thank you, Sir Michael.
Thank you, Sir Mike. Thank you,
Hope to have you
everyone.
again.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity.
I just have a question. Why is it Jennifer?
Yeah,
Nalito tuloy ako doon.
mali kasi yung name. Dapat pa, ano yan, Junifer, J-U.
Ah, okay.
It happens lang na mali
Is that
yung...
ano?